Hey ReadyScottsGo fam, it is Brianna.
And Jerry.
And Jerry. And Toph. Huh. We named her Toph, just like Avatar The Last Airbender, huh?
That's right. If you don't know what that is, well, shame on you.
Yeah, you're missing out.
You have quarantine time to watch it.
Exactly. So you better be watching Avatar The Last Airbender tonight, if you haven't seen it already.
Ready, Scots, go!
So you're probably wondering why Jerry is in this video with me for a pregnancy update on a Thursday. The reason is because I want his insight for the topic of this video, which you saw in the title, which is how can a partner best support their significant other during birth?
Wait, so Brianna, are you saying that I am suitable to give this information?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, we've been through it once before and now we're going through it for a second time, so.
All right.
So I wanted Jerry to join in on this and kind of give his insight as the partner and talk about his experience when Eden was born and now with our preparations for baby number 2, what we are doing and what we plan on doing to have the birth that we want. So to start off, for those of you that haven't followed our journey, and for those of you that have, you've already heard this probably at least a few times, but we did a natural, unmedicated birthing center birth with Eden. We prepared for that birth by taking a hypnobirthing class called the Curtis Method, which is based in Utah, and we just worked on that together. I did have a doula for that birth, and of course we had midwives because we are at a freestanding birth center. So that hopefully gives you a little bit of background into what kind of experience we had. I know for me, I leaned a lot on Jerry during the birth experience as a whole. We did a lot of practice and preparation for the birth, and it ended up being a really great experience. I think it was really bonding for us, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
That's all he has to say.
Every time Brianna asks me to say something, like, I'll start to speak my mind, and then after I turn off the camera, she goes, wow, you just said a whole lot on that. You just said way too much. We're going to have to shorten that. So when I say something too short, she's like, that's not good enough. Just classic.
I know I have mentioned before that I am rereading a book called The Mongan Method. It's the hypnobirthing book. And not just in the Curtis Method class that we're taking for hypnobirthing, but also in that book and in lots of more naturally minded birthing methods. They talk a lot about how the birth story is an extension of a love story between partners. And I mean, the baby was created, right, out of love, and the baby is loved while it's in utero, and then the baby is brought into the world with love, and that's how it should be. So I'm curious, because we are retaking the Curtis Method class virtually right now, which is the one we took with Eden, and I'm curious, Jerry, how do you feel going into the second birth in comparison with the first birth? Like preparation wise, and like what to expect, and what expectations you have for yourself as my birth support now that I won't be having a doula. Do you feel like the pressure's on?
I don't know. It was kind of my idea that she didn't need to have a doula. Just because I felt, with respect to our first doula, I felt like, I was just as capable and suggesting things that the doula was suggesting, because we had training to do, this on our own, to some degree. So I know that I feel like this time I'm a lot more confident seeing our birthing method work the first time to do it again. Like, it doesn't matter where we are. I think I'm confident enough that it'll work. The very first time that we did this, like, I knew the skills. I thought it was a cool idea. I didn't know if this was all gonna work or if Brianna could really do it. But once I saw her champion through it, it's motivating to say, like, why can't we just do this again?
I mean, I had like pretty high expectations after going to the Curtis Method class of what I wanted him to do while I was in labor. and while I was preparing for labor even. Before then, I just never really saw or even imagined that a spouse or partner could have that much to do with a labor experience before then. I always, you see in movies and, in vlogs sometimes that the husband is just standing there at the foot of the bed while the wife pushes, or he's sleeping on the couch while she is laying in bed with her epidural eating ice cubes. Like, that was all I really understood from the partner side of things for when your wife is having a baby. And that's what I think a lot of our culture thinks the partner is almost expected to do, is just kind of lounge around while the other one pushes the baby out and then they get to hold it, and that's it, a happy family. But after going to my class, I learned there's so much more that the partner can do in the preparation and also in the birth and, labor of their child. So when we took Curtis Method and as we were preparing, we learned a lot about counter pressure. We did our meditations together when preparing. We did weekly meditations. We also learned about something called the endorphin touch. We learned about the importance of birthing affirmations and encouragement that your partner can offer. I think it really elevates the whole experience if you have a partner that makes the experience even better than you could imagine. For me, looking back at my birthing experience with Eden, it's hard to remember everything. But what were the things that you remember clearly that you did to help me and help Eden and help us have that safe birthing space and a good labor experience?
Well, I guess before that, I'd like to say that there's one thing that's really important about the class that we take, and that's that there's no such thing as like a failed birth. There's no such thing as a wrong way. Everyone has their own way that they birth. So if anyone's watching this, we don't want you to take away that Brianna's way is the God way. It's the only way to give birth. We just had a really positive experience, and so we want to give families, spouses, whoever, couples, whoever, their ability to be able to do this, because this isn't just husbands or spouses. The person who's having the baby just needs to designate someone or two people or three people, to be their partner / partners in this. It can be a mom, it can be an uncle, it can be a sister. I'm just filling in this role for Brianna because I'm the person that she chooses. So that's a super important thing to know. Okay, so there's a few things that I think are super important for me that I did that I want to make sure that I do again is, and I was always trying to be available for Brianna, to be able to answer her questions or give her anything she needed, and to make sure those things were being done. So I know Brianna can attest that she has a hard time sharing birthing pictures with just her in it.
It's true. I think I have maybe 8 or 10 out of 150 birthing pictures that don't have him in the picture.
So I was there. Whether I was, like she said, doing endorphin touching, or if I was there, just to put my hand on her face, or just there to hold her hand so she could squeeze it in a hard time. I was just there. I was there with wet rags and cloths to get the sweat off her face. Just all those things create love. And when you feel that love, you produce the oxytocin hormone. And when you're producing your oxytocin hormone, that helps your spouse / whoever giving the birth have the baby more efficiently. Mm-hmm. And it's a very important hormone for birthing.
And just to add on that, I don't think it's just oxytocin that that it helps with, but also not feeling alone. I never felt alone. I felt very secure knowing that he was my rock, he was gonna be there. I think the only times he left were twice to go pee the entire birthing experience. I'm not even joking.
That's right. Number 2 is not allowed.
He was on his knees. No, because that takes an hour. He was on his knees next to the birthing tub, holding my hand, wiping my face. And I felt very secure in knowing that he was going to be there for the whole thing.
Like Brianna mentioned, another thing that's really important is, not being scared to kick people out. If you have, you could have a birthing experience with just us, but likely people have family around. If you have your family around, they can be, obnoxious sometimes. Not in a mean way, just everybody thinks they're helping, when a lot of cases they're not. Our 2-year-old is the perfect example of that. Like a perfect example, like she'll walk right over to you and she'll see something on the floor she shouldn't have that's filled with like a chemical and dump it all over the couch and be like, oh, look what I did, you know? It's just a perfect example of that. You know, you can have parents or moms or siblings or whoever, you know, that always just want to do something to help, and you know, sometimes it just gets in the way, even though it's a good intention, you know. So it's my job to be able to recognize those good intentions, but potentially keep them busy doing other things, you know, like going to the store to get food for people or...
Yeah, you don't have to be like, get out of the room, but you could say, you know, I'm really hungry. Mom, would you go get me a burger? I just am starving at the restaurant nearby. And then that will take 30 minutes just to go run down and do that. And then that clears the space and the negativity. And hopefully when they come back, you can reset the tone. And when they come back, you can maybe relay out the rules too and say like, hey, I just wanted to remind you, this is a really positive space. So we want to keep things really, really happy, really uplifting whenever we talk. Just kind of reset the area. I remember when I was pushing with Eden, it got kind of overwhelming because there was like 6 people around me and they're all like, push, push, push harder, you know? And I was done. And I was like, everyone just get out. And I didn't even have to say that. It was like Jerry read my mind. And he was like, everyone clear out, everyone out. Just me and the midwife, and that's it. And he like kicked everyone out of the room. And that was exactly what I needed in that moment. And it was amazing that I felt so connected with him that I didn't feel like I had to voice that concern. He recognized that I was feeling overwhelmed and he had everyone leave. And that's another way that he protected that birthing space. Woo-hoo!
Okay, another thing that I think was really good was, you know, kind of being like Brianna's coach. Like Brianna said, like, when you're in that moment, you have all this training, and sometimes in the hardest moments, your training can disappear. And I remember several times where she was fighting through it, or she might have even uttered the phrase like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. You're like, maybe I should just go get the drugs. You know, and I'm like, no, like you don't need to do that. Like, you wanted to do this, like you're committed to this, like let's do this technique. Like, you're having your waves or your contractions right now. Remember, like, this should be your breathing pattern. And I would count with her, you know, or I would breathe with her in front of her so that she could copy me. Mm-hmm. Like, I would be able to, you know, give her that extra determination, I guess, mm-hmm. like, and drive to continue going forward with, you know, the thing that she could do, that I knew she could do. And when she knows that I see the confidence in her to accomplish those things, I think that was helpful.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, there'd be times where, like, I would know what I was doing. Like, maybe I was making birthing noises that were starting to get kind of high-pitched, and Jerry would be like, no, like this, and he would, like, do the low, like, moan, like, low noise with me, like, help me match it. And so that helped keep me on track when, you know, instead of things veering sideways, he'd get me right back on track for staying relaxed and staying focused, breathing-wise, sound-wise, you know, headspace-wise. And that's another thing, like I mentioned, like birth affirmations. Like, there would be many times where he'd be like, you can do this. Remember, like, your body can do this. You were made to do this. Different positive affirmations like that he would say to me throughout the experience that would, you know, help run through my mind and help keep me focused and confident in what I was doing.
And I think probably the last thing that I would touch on that I think was really important was, like, Brianna tried really hard to be physically fit for the birth. Like, she was working out every day, even the week up to
even the day before
the day she was due. Like, Brianna was working out, you know, because birthing is hard and your body needs to be in good. It doesn't need to be, but it helps a lot to be in good physical condition. You know, and if Brianna was the only one that's in good physical condition, then I wouldn't be able to keep up with her. You know, and so I think it's important that you have yourself also be mentally strong as the partner, and physically strong to be able to help with, you know, all the physical and mental needs that are taking place in the birth. Again, touching back on, like, the counter pressures and things like that, you know, hours.
What is counter pressure for those that don't know? Yeah,
I spent hours. So basically what it means is, you know, when you have a force being applied in one direction, like this, like on this hand, then this hand's going to move, right? That's a Newton's law. If you're applying pressure to this, it's going to move this way. If I use this hand and I apply the same force going the other direction, like, they're not going to move. the same force is being applied, so they're gonna stay still. And so basically with counter pressure is in a lot of different situations, especially one of the main ones is, as the baby is getting lower and lower and lower, trying to come out, there's a lot of pressure that's coming at a diagonal downward force, kind of pointed towards out of the woman's back rather than down out of her bottom. And when that happens, it can be really painful, and it can be really difficult for women to be able to focus and bear that pain, or intensity, as we like to describe it. And so one thing that you can do is you can use your hands and you can push on their back during those contractions or those waves to try to counteract that force, so that those contractions that she's feeling, or that pressure that she's feeling is minimalized. And I spent hours
pushing on my back, pushing against my knees as I was in a sitting position, like pushing against my hips from both sides, different things like that would help relieve that pressure that I was experiencing. And like my active labor was like 6 hours long. So he and my doula and my mom were, doing counter pressure on either side and that kind of stuff for hours. So it was important, and it really helped me get through all of it. So that was really, really great. And then I do have one more thing to add as well. I do think it's really important that the spouse or partner also understand how birth happens. What is happening to the female's body while she's giving birth? I mean, I felt very confident in Jerry because, of course, he's like medically inclined because of his job and his schooling. But after taking our birthing class and them explaining exactly what's happening to the uterus and what's happening to your body and how contractions or waves are produced from oxytocin, and how to encourage oxytocin levels by like the endorphin touches, which you guys can look up, but is like lightly touching your body, and just like feeling that love hormone really helps as well. And so the fact that he was so well versed and very familiar with birth and the birthing process, he knew what was going on with me at all times. He knew what it meant when the midwife was like, oh, she's in transition, or, oh, she's at 10 centimeters. He knew exactly what was happening for me to get there, what was happening now that I was there. And I think it helped him feel more confident in the whole experience, right? You just didn't feel like you're out of the loop just waiting for me to push a baby out.
Yeah, definitely taking the class this time is a lot different. Like, it's more for us to, brush up on some of those techniques, that will help, Brianna be more at ease during the birth. But definitely the very first time it was a lot more informative because, especially guys, we just don't know and don't care really about how that happens. And, if Brianna hadn't said like, let's take this class, and me reluctantly agreeing at first, then going into this thing, I probably would have been a lot more nervous and scared because I wasn't really sure what to expect or, to know how to support Brianna. I just knew I didn't want to be someone who sat in the other room and watched TV.
Yeah. I
just didn't know how to help. Like, that's a big deal. Like, you don't know what to do.
So your best friend in that situation is to get educated. And there's so many things you can do to support your partner, but the most important thing is to actually tell your partner that they're your birthing partner. And if you're the birthing partner, talk that out with your labor partner, with your significant other that's going to be having a baby, and tell them, I want to be that support for you. What can I do? Let's make a plan. Teach me about your birth plan. Tell me everything that you want, you don't want. Let's take a class together. Spend some time looking up on YouTube or on the internet, counter pressure and endorphin touch massage and breathing techniques while in labor, and practice those together. If you can take a hypnobirthing class, of course, I'm a big proponent of that, so take one.
Yeah, we've been using a lot of terminology today, like, apologize for that, because this is not a hypnobirthing how-to video.
No.
I think, so, again, like, if you want to know more about what that means, because for us, when you think of hypnobirthing, most people think that I'm going to be holding a coin in front of Brianna's face, like, the whole time, and that's really not at all what's happening. So, if you're curious more about it, then, yes, educate. Go online and look it up. As a result of this experience, we shared with several friends about it, and we've had several of my own personal friends who have went and taken the class that we took and gave birth and said that they can't imagine giving birth a different way. We can't imagine giving a birth a different way. And I didn't even see what it would have looked like without it. I just know the stories that everyone has to tell, and that it's not very good
But even
for a majority of people.
Yeah, but even if you're going to be a C-section mama, or you're for sure wanting an epidural, these things can still apply to you. Your birthing partner can still be your number one. They can still educate themselves. They can still help you through the early stages of labor by being your birth support and helping with counter pressure and breathing and keeping you calm. And they can still give you birth affirmations when you're in labor and telling you can do this, and just being that person by your side more than just the partner sleeping on the couch while you go through it all alone. So I think having a supportive birthing partner is really key to having the birth that you want and that you envision, whatever that may be. So we just want to encourage you to encourage your birthing partner and have the birth that you want your way, and not be afraid of educating yourself. Right?
Yes.
Perfect. But once again, thanks for subscribing. We love you guys. Have a fantastic Thursday. We'll see you later. Bye.